If it will work in this big old house that's laid out horribly as far as narrow doors and 100 people dash in and 100 people dash out with the doors open, I can't imagine how efficient and how well they would work in a new construction. I was skeptical, I didn't think it would work, but my mind has changed.
Thinking back, the first unit that I recommend to you, if you remember that winter, the winter prior, we'd had that really cold winter, that old boiler down there had just sucked the oil.
I asked Dwayne if there would be an alternative to the $15,000 of fuel that we were burning, and he suggested that we put in these units here.
The problem we had, he had such varying loads. If you remember, you might have a funeral with 20, but then you might have another one with 200, and you need cooling quick.
For the doors opening and closing, I couldn't get the cooling out of the units that we had for their size.
We also had the steam radiators. The boiler had radiators, and so then the cooling was added probably in the 50s, and the ductwork wasn't that great.
And I was always worried about children touching one of those hot radiators and getting burned.
You remember the first winter we put those in, and we went from that winter prior burning almost $15,000 in fuel oil. If you remember the next winter, you've only burnt 3.
It was a tremendous savings, and the cooling that summer was exactly what we was looking for. We have more than one location, and that's where we started discussing replacing in the other location.
So the technology now is, we're back to these high fuel oil prices again. Let's get rid of all the oil.
Yeah.
Now the house will be 100% with ductless technology.
Exactly.
Well, good. Well, maybe let's go in the house now and take a look at how things are laid out.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, this is the main entrance to the house where we normally had our biggest problem. The door opening and closing so many times, and people tend to congregate right here. The heat and the cooling load was tremendous.
So let's go back to the first system.
At the time, this had a boiler.
Right.
And then it had a floor duct with forced air furnace, and it would either be too slow to bring it up or too slow to bring it down.
Yeah, you were like, hey, Dwayne, I want a high wall up here. You got it. I want a head here. I don't think we need one over here. And we were going to put it up here. And I said, really, the way this technology works, we don't need to do that. We need to blanket the area. But we didn't put a high wall here.
We did not.
It took care of the problem area.
I was skeptical. I didn't think it would work, but my mind has changed.
So walk up here with me. Remember the day that we hung this console unit here?
I said, that will work.
You said there is no way that's going to take care of this room.
It does.
The louver opens up and it blows air out that way. So what we did is we made it so that it blanketed the load and it constantly kept the units running. Remember, I kept telling you, we want these things to run.
I set these things and I kind of forget them, and they take care of themselves. They work together, and they do a good job.
So walk through the next room. And so this is a room where people are going to congregate, where they get coffee, things like that. This space also is where the bathrooms are at.
Yes, there's no heads or consoles in here, and it stays comfortable.
So if you walk on around this way a little bit further, let me show you the idea, just kind of for what our thought process when we were doing this was. This is the back door of the house where a lot of people come in. So, I suggested we put the high wall up here. And the idea was to fill this space with cool air to pressurize it upstairs. How's that work?
Dwayne, we don't need it. We do not run this head very often. It has to be really hot or really cold outside. I have found that the units on the other side of the house take care of it back here.
1-ton units taking care of this whole area.
Yeah, that little small console unit in there, you tell me how far it is in there, 30 or 40 feet?
Yeah, probably 40 feet.
And around the corner and around the wall.
To keep this in perspective, the boiler that we had downstairs that used to take care of this was a 250,000 BTU oil boiler.
Call that an oil burner.
Oil sucker.
I used to be on their Christmas list.
Yeah, they loved him. After one winter of this, you was like, I love these units, and we went to the chapel.
Yeah.
So let's walk over to the chapel and we'll talk about what was done. So you wanted a high wall back here, and I said, no, we don't need it. But this side was on that old oil furnace that's still down in the basement that's abandoned.
Exactly.
Every time that thing would come on during a service, the minister would be standing up here. You would hear that oil go.
And we had the fans running so fast that then we were getting whistling.
Then we put this 3-ton unit.
Yeah.
I remember the day I called you, we put that up there, and you said, Butler, that's as big as a casket that you, I'm like, you said, that's going to be so noisy, they're going to blow everybody out of here.
Not so.
Not so.
Not so. We're 40-some hundred square feet of a 200-year-old house.
You'll just take and adjust the louvers to throw the air across the house.
I will.
You like it.
It can be full of people, and I can walk in here and just hit and do any adjustment I need, or find some gentleman there in the crowd and hand him this. It's so simple. All you do is push the air up, push the air down. It takes care of itself. If I can run it, anybody can.
So now what we've done is this whole chapel is in its own zone, and you can run this when you want, and that size is in its own zone.
When we're not busy as doing the services, either side can maintain the house.
But you're probably just going to leave us set it and let it go.
I do. If it will work in this big old house that's laid out horribly as far as narrow doors and 100 people dash in and 100 people dash out with the doors open, I can't imagine how efficient and how well they would work in a new construction. And I plan on putting one in my home because I have a relatively new heat pump, but these things here are so much cost effective.
So to recap, what you're telling me is we've drastically reduced the utility costs of what we're doing. We've got a higher level of comfort in the home. You've got redundancy, you've got the flexibility. It automatically modulates up based on the load. And the house is cleaner, we're not going to have the dust. But overall, it's been a great experience for this product. We're 10 years into it.
Yeah, everything you said is true here. The money costs, the efficiency of them is it's crazy.
Bob, hey, thanks so much. Remember when I first came to you this, and I was going to hang that thing on the wall, and you said, Butler, I'm not sure I want that thing hanging up there on that wall, remember?
Yeah.
And I said, look, if you can't get over it, I'll take it down.
Yeah.
You want me to take them down now?
No, I'd rather have the money.